The great mistake of my career was buying an apartment 6 months before I could have invested in Uber and doubled down on Facebook. Like, it made me less liquid. Lost a lot of money. Needed, you know, I was grown. I was had a child. Like it's not terrible, but like, I'm starting to wonder if I'm gonna recommend one day people. I actually starting to get weird about ever owning a house. I think nobody should own I'm starting to really believe that nobody should own a home until they're 40.
What about a car?
Nope. I don't think anybody should spend money. If they have actual business ambition. If they want to build a business. For real. Not, I want to create a business to give me money to, then you should extract your money. Like, there's a lot of people that build businesses to get a wave runner, to buy an RV, to like stay at the Ritz-Carlton, and that's fine. You're not building a business, you're trying to create a machine to kick you cash. The problem with that is it always becomes vulnerable in the end and then dies. And then that's why people go backwards. So when I was a young kid, I made a lot of money selling baseball cards and comic books and toys. And then I started working for my dad's business, and I was making, you know, when I was 22 to 28, I was making $35,000 to $55,000 a year, but I had no expenses. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't buy fancy things. So I saved my money. And then when I had hundreds of thousands of dollars. I didn't have millions. And by the time I was 33, 34, when I had that opportunity, I'd still not bought a home. I was still in an apartment. I was 33 years old and I was renting. And because I was saving cash to go on the offense. And so when I had a chance to invest in those companies, I put hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions, but those hundreds made millions, made tens of millions. And so that's it, nothing crazy, I didn't have any crazy advantage. There's a lot of people that make $55,000 a year when they're 23. The problem is they go to Coachella and they want to buy a watch and they want to buy a BMW, and I didn't. So I ate shit for 13 years, and then I had a moment and I struck. Dude, there's no difference between 6 figures and 8 figures. Like, what's the fucking difference? Yeah. Like, I understand, I'm like practical, I understand, but like what? 2 extra bedrooms? Like what, an extra trip? Like the caviar supplement? like what, right? Like, the reason to make more money is to close a vulnerability and an insecurity. The reason young men want to make money is to get girls.
You already have her.
And that's the point. I really mean that. I mean, you literally like have no, like, there's not a whole lot, especially if you give any fucks about legacy. People say they want legacy, but they use that as a disguise to make more money. An amazing piece of advice for a lot of kids, 50-year-olds, whoever's listening right now, is like, saving money is a good strategy. Like, I didn't have stuff, but it was because my parents were saving. They were saving, and my mom we didn't get toys, like go outside and like paint a rock, right? It was like very, very smart, because after 7 or 8 years, he was able to buy a liquor store of his own in Springfield, New Jersey, Shoppers Discount Liquors. He built up a great business, $3 to $4 million a year business, like made it, right? Like literally made it. Middle class, upper middle class, made it. We didn't ever need anything. They didn't spend a lot, they're big savers, but we made it. And then I got dragged into it at 14, oldest son. A lot of people are just not practical. A lot of people taking money and instead of investing it back into their business, buying dumb shit. There was a whole lot of dumb shit buying downstairs today. There was. There was a bunch of people that bought shit to make money. That's good buying shit. There's a lot of people buying shit downstairs today to close the gap on insecurities they have. A lot of people bought shit because they think the logo on their hoodie or on their kicks is gonna make them feel better, but it's not. And it's gonna speed up the process of you losing, not the other way around. So we need more practicality in this space, that's for sure. But if you came to this, and clearly you did because we're here, but I'm talking to the people watching. If you came to this, you're fucking so much more ahead of people. People don't get it. You get it. Here's what you don't get. You fucking lack patience. All of you that just came through my booth, all your fucking questions, they all came down to the same shit. Too many of you talk about being it, but you're not living it. You wanna be about patience and hustle. It's fun to say, to me, it's fun to tweet that you're a fucking entrepreneur. It's a lot harder to bleed 15 hours a day, every day for 15 years. One of my best friends in the world, Dustin Singh, fourth row back, that man and I drove back from Mount Ida College the day we left college. We drove back, we yapped it up, reminisced. It was it was over. Reminisced, got to the parking lot around 3 o'clock that day. We hugged it out. He went on his way, took a train. I walked into the liquor store as a 22-year-old, and I talked to that man 5 to 15 times for the next 8 years. True? Fucking worked, was patient, fucking bled, grinded, for real. Not, now it's made up my narrative as an entrepreneur and it's cool. I lived it. There's not a lot of people that know it, but he does. He knows the truth. He knows in college, I went fucking home every weekend on the Amtrak, not Excel, I wasn't fancy back then, and fucking went and worked, and I'd come back. I left for the weekends. I worked my face off, and I learned my craft.
Like how many hours? Like how?
All of them.
Like 24, no sleep.
Like, you know, I slept, but like, I worked I'll give you a good example. There's not a lot of 20-year-olds who can say they worked every single Saturday of their entire 20s, period. I did. I worked 50 to 52 Saturdays a year from 22 to 29 until I met my wife and started having to like build some level of work-life balance. And that's how it worked.
And what did you do on those Saturdays?
I got to wine library at 7:30 in the morning and I left at 7, 8, or 9. I just worked. I just built a management staff. I just tasted wine. I just built up the website, learned how to do Google AdWords. You know, I just worked. So funny, this kid grabbed me at the airport. Were you with me? Yeah, it's the second time I'm telling you, I'm really fascinated by it. This kid runs up to me, he's like, Garyvee, you know, like, I'm like, oh, let's take a selfie. He's like, gotta really talk to you, though. He goes, I'm so, this is like, it was really sweet. It was a nice, I just loved his vibe. I was like, this is so meant to be that we met. He's like, I'm from Ontario. I just came down here, I'm flying back home. I just got super ripped off. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I literally had all my bar mitzvah money and what my grandma left me, and I lost it all. Somebody just scammed all of it from me. I'm like, how much? He's like, 60,000 bucks. So it's really interesting what happened in that moment. I looked him dead in the face and I said, that's what happens when you try to make a quick dollar. And he goes, how'd you know? And I'm like, you can't get scammed of $60,000 unless you're trying to make a quick buck. Yeah. You just can't. You bought into some bullshit because you thought 60 was gonna be 600,000 in a week. And that always, always loses. That's the most extreme version, but where I get worried, and I know nothing about you, like where I get worried about kids making some money early on is the less extreme version is you're taking money off the table and you're just living that lifestyle. When for 50% of those kids, if they poured it back in, they could really live that lifestyle forever. If they just ate shit for 6 more years and built something for real, you know? I know tens of thousands of people, and I know thousands of people extremely well, and I know hundreds of people deeply well. There is no correlation between how much money someone makes and their level of happiness. I have friends who make $47,000 a year and are the happiest people I know. Their work-life balance is on point. They're part of 2 soccer teams. They play video games. They watch every show they want. They take 2 vacations that they scrap together, and they're freaking happy as hell. And I know tons of people who I grew up with in the Silicon Valley boom who have hundreds of millions of dollars in their bank account and are as miserable and as lonely and as broken as you'll ever see. So I implore all of you to please reverse engineer and figure out who you are and figure out what level of monetizing and stuff you need and what level of creativity you need. I promise you one thing that will catch you very off guard. I should be way more rich. I leave money on the table every day. I've left ungodly amounts of money on the table. I spend tons of times sending DMs and engaging with people, meeting people randomly and not cashing in. I actually believe the statement I'm about to make. I think that I love the journey and the game of entrepreneurship so much that I have subconsciously sabotaged my financial upside to make sure I can play this a little longer because I fear if the numbers keep getting too big, eventually it will take the fun out of it. When you are lucky enough, like I am, to actually do something that you love so much, do something that puts pressure against the one thing you care about besides it, which is the time I spend with my family. My family is my whole life. And being this and doing this is the only thing that cuts into that. I couldn't breathe if I wasn't an entrepreneur. I didn't breathe when I wasn't an entrepreneur. That's the reason I got D's and F's in school, because I just couldn't be me. And I'm not capable of that.